the Texas County, Arkansas Board of Directors to order. At this time, we'll have a roll call.
Director Minor?
Here.
Director Hart?
Here.
Director Roberts?
Here.
Director Harris?
Here.
Assistant Mayor Hollibush is absent. Director Brewer?
Here.
Mayor Brown?
Here. This time, we'll stand for the invocation. I will give the invocation tonight. Our Pledge of Allegiance will be given tonight by our CRC Commander, Doug Avery. Let's let us pray. Gracious God, thank you for this day and all the blessings that you've given us, and thank you for the ability to serve publicly and to serve our community, and be with us as we make decisions on behalf of our city tonight. For it's in Christ's name we pray.
Amen.
Amen. Doug?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. If you have your cell phones with you, we'd appreciate it if you would silence those. If you wish to address the board tonight, I have one request already. If you would fill out a citizen's communication card on the ledge there, we would appreciate it. We would have a written record of you speaking tonight. So at this time, we'll move right on into our citizens' communication time. Our first to address the board tonight will be Camille Mosley. Ms. Mosley, come forward.
Good evening. My name's Camille Mosley. I live on 4835 Oak Clay Pit Road. I built a house in 2020, and since that time, I've had a lot of trouble with flooding out there. I left some examples of the flooding. It's bad enough for my yard is eroding. I've spent quite a bit of money trying to fix it. I spent $2,800 keeping my concrete from eroding away. The yard is steady leveling out. The covers are closed. Last month, we had power went out because the pole just rotted and fell over. Thank God they came out and fixed it in 4 hours. We have people dumping back there continuously every day. They're dumping couches and chairs and Christmas trees and anything you name, they're bringing it back there, dumping it on that road. It's limbs and leaves falling. You can be driving and a limb will fall. I've had to call emergency and they pull a limb out the road. Like, that's very dangerous because the trees and stuff need to be cut back. They're rotting all the way down through there. And like I say, the main thing is the flooding. It's not getting any better. And I can see all the damage that it's doing. And I don't want to lose my home to all of this flooding going on. It's a nice area, but it's not. It needs a lot of attention out there.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. What's the address? Clay Pit Road. It's 40, there it is. Here you go. Is there anyone else that wishes to address the board? Citizens' communication time? Anyone else? If not, we'll move right on into our consent agenda. We have one item on the consent agenda tonight, and that's the approval of the minutes of our regular meeting on November the 7th. What would be the desire of the board to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to adopt.
Second. So I have a motion and a second to adopt the consent agenda. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the consent agenda passes. So moving right along into our regular agenda, item number 2 is to adopt a resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Stan Excavating Company for the demolition of the Regency House located at 110 East Broad Street, Ward 2. Public Works Director Tyler Richards.
Good evening. You all are familiar with Regency House. I'm sure you're glad to see this, but I know you've got questions, so fire away.
Any board member? I do have some questions I would like to ask, but does anybody have any before?
Well, there's still that tower of a thing at the corner.
Yes, ma'am, the old elevator
down through.
shaft. Mhm. Yeah, all that will be gone.
The issues that I have, Tyler, when I think about this and being here, one is several years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, we appropriated $500,000 for basically $500,000 for the demolition of the Regency House. I actually talked at that meeting too about, even with the city attorney, about other ways that we could subrogate against the property owner for leaving us with such a high tab to tear an old building down with asbestos and a lot of issues with it, and we've looked into a few of those things.
Right.
And we began to demo the Regency House with a contractor that we went through a bidding process. Just correct me when I'm wrong, but we went through a bidding process, and we selected a contractor, and that contractor began work. And we have some issues that we're in right now with that. We're actually in a lawsuit. The city, the owner and the contractor in a lawsuit, the owner of a property next door that supposedly had some damage due to our contractor that we hired,
Correct.
caused while he was tearing down the Regency House. So we also know that there's a bond against that particular company that they had to put up to tear that down. So my concerns are that, one, being familiar with bonding companies and how that process works is, why are we going to pay an additional $450,000, which we could subrogate at some point in time against the bonding company, and George could possibly answer this as well, but we're going to pay an additional, we have paid to date, according to finance, almost $200,000 for the work that was done there. So what work has been done, certainly we shouldn't have to have another $500 to bring it down, but it's $450. But we have $300 left over in this contingency fund that we allotted back a couple of years ago to get this tore down, which was a hard for me to even have to approve and fathom that the city gets stuck with a $500,000 demo on a building that wasn't worth nothing, and the lot won't be worth $2,000 or $3,000, if that many, once you get it tore down. And evidently, we're not going to have a chance of recouping any of this money from a property owner. So that's a no-win situation, in my opinion, for the city. But, so what I'm getting at is that we're now being asked to appropriate another $300 to go ahead and tear this thing down when, one, it's still in litigation. Two, we have a chance of recovering that money from the bond company, which we may not. But if we did, then we would get that money back. And I know it's an eyesore. It's been cleaned up some down there, and it's been barricaded off more properly, in my opinion, so it's just not all out in the street. But may or may not get our money. The other thing that concerns me was we only had one bid. We only had one bid this time to go around because probably nobody wants that headache. Nobody wants that. Plus, in the interim, we had to buy an additional piece of property next door to it.
Yes, sir.
So my concerns is I personally would like to see the city wait until, I know it's been litigated for 2 years. I have no idea when it's going to settle, but we're banking on something here to get rid of something and spend an additional amount of money on, a problem that frankly shouldn't be the city's, but it is. And we might or might not get some of this money back, which we wouldn't get but $300 of it back
Yeah.
anyway because of the cost of what the contract was. So.
And I'll let George comment on the lawsuit in particular, but, typically if you have a situation like this, you go to the bonding company comes in, you virtually pay them what's left in the contract and they finish the job. That's normally what happens, but this lawsuit changes everything. Now, on the single bid, I talked to several contractors, and they were all extremely leery of it. They've made a huge mess out there, and one, it was going to be extremely expensive just because it's been made into such a big mess, but for two, the building next door has to come down now. They share a common wall, which was the whole problem from the beginning. So those two buildings need to come down at the same time. So when we bid this thing out, the only person that wants to bid on it is the one that's tearing down the building next door, because that's who the other side has hired. So that's the problem that we have with the one bid. I wasn't able to get any of the other contractors to bid on it. It was too much for them. They couldn't be competitive. Even if we did get a bid from them, you'd probably be looking at $1 million plus from those guys.
Anybody else have any questions for Tyler? Any other discussion? If not, we'll have the city attorney read the resolution.
Whereas after advertising on one bid, an amount of $450,000 was submitted by Stan Excavating Company for the demolition of the Regency House located at 110 East Broad, and whereas $300,000 is budgeted for such expense, and thus an appropriation of $150,000 is required, and whereas the city manager and staff recommend approval, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, that the city manager is hereby authorized to enter into a contract with Stan Excavating Company for the purposes and in the amount set forth above, and further, the FY 2022 budget is amended for the corresponding appropriation and expense. Pass and approve this 21st day of November 2022.
The city attorney's resolution, what would be the desire of the board?
I got, I guess, a question, man. Is there any, what would happen if we was to wait and do what the mayor suggested, on this?
Nothing. Nothing.
Yeah, I mean, the building needs to come down as soon as
Okay.
possible. There's no doubt about that. It has sat there as is for 2 years. I keep a really close eye on it.
I think the disadvantage would be is by waiting, I don't know that our cost would increase, but we're due at least almost 300 from the bonding company. If it was any cost above the 300, we would have to pay that.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue here is the unknown, what's going to happen with this lawsuit and, how we're going to be reimbursed and whatnot. But if you're asking if I think it's okay to wait, I don't think it's okay to wait another 2 years by any means, but I don't see what a little longer would hurt if that's what y'all decided
No,
to do.
I'm just throwing that out there, and is that in the guarantee we gonna get the, what, the 200, was it 250, 350 money from the bonding company?
Whether from the bonding company or from the competing interests are from the bonding company or from the contractor.
The bonding company.
Right, the contractor was also negligent in what it did there. And so there's that different piece moving right now. And if the contractor, who has a significant insurance policy, will settle this thing out, that takes care of both the plaintiffs and us. We're in the lawsuit as well, obviously, as a defendant. And so and a cross-claimant. And so there's kind of a competing go-around there. And then should the bonding company not perform after we were to incur this, we'd end up having to sue the bonding company for it, is what's happened.
So you would sue the bonding company for the amount of money we finna spend now?
Over and above whatever we originally had in it.
Remainder of the original contract.
Right.
So the litigation.
There's some and the amount of the bond was an issue in that. And I'll be happy to talk about it because it is the theory of the plaintiffs and not ours. But the amount of the bond was at issue with the plaintiffs.
Any other questions? The city attorney read the resolution. What will be the desire of the board to adopt?
I'm just gonna throw it out here. I'm gonna go ahead and try to take a chance. Well, I'm gonna ask one more question. What's the case up? Is this up in state, circuit court or federal court?
In circuit court.
Okay. And how far on the docket is for?
Well, right now, there's discovery going on in it. There's not a trial set date.
Oh, well, that's taking another 2
Well,
years.
with it being a resolution, it can be brought, if it were defeated, it can be brought back at any time. It doesn't have to wait the 6-month period, correct?
No.
If you don't vote, then you bring it back at any time. Assuming that the bid stays good.
Yes, the bid is good for, I double checked, but I believe 60 days.
Okay.
I would say the only thing that concerns me is the lack of people that want to do this work. And your comment about how much it would cost if someone else wanted to do that work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as we know everything that goes up, whether we take this on now or not, we still have the possibility of getting that money. So all we're doing is putting off the inevitable because we know that the building needs to come down. So I'll make an motion to adopt.
So there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
So there's a motion and a second to adopt. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll, please?
Minor?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
Roberts?
No.
Harris?
Yes.
Brewer?
Yes.
Brown?
No. Does that pass?
It's 4, it
Yeah,
passes.
it passes. So resolution passes. The next item is to adopt a resolution authorizing the transfer of existing bonds from Cooper Tire and Rubber Company to Goodyear and Tire and Rubber Company. Ms. Henderson.
Good afternoon, Mayor Brown, Board of Directors, City Manager, Mr. Ellington. This resolution is simply to transfer the assets from Cooper Tire to Goodyear. Are there any
Okay.
questions?
Does anybody have any questions?
Just the name change,
That's it.
company change. Right?
Any other discussion? We instruct the city attorney to read the
Thank you.
resolution.
Whereas pursuant to Ordinance L 364 and Ordinance Number 24, 2017, the City of Texas County, Arkansas authorized and directed the mayor and city clerk on behalf of the city to enter into and perform all the city's obligations as issuer under certain indentures dated November 1st, 2010 and November 1st, 2017 respectively. The indentures between the city and U.S. Bank National Association, St. Paul, Minnesota, as trustee. The indentures were entered into in connection with those certain revenue bonds issued by the city to Cooper Tire Company, a Delaware corporation, to finance the cost of acquiring, constructing, and equipping an industrial plant located in the city. And whereas part of the corporate restructuring, Cooper will transfer the original bonds to its parent company, Goodyear, the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company, and Ohio Corporation. And whereas Section 210 of the indentures authorizes Cooper to transfer the original bonds by surrendering the original bonds to the trustee, and in connection with such event requires the mayor and the city clerk to execute replacement bonds on behalf of the city in the name of the transferee, Goodyear. And whereas the board of directors has been advised that Cooper has surrendered the original bonds to the trustee, and whereas the board of directors has been presented with the form of the replacement bonds to be effective November 25, 2022 at 12 o'clock 1 second a.m. Eastern Standard Time, with the replacement bonds are substantially the same as the original bonds, and the board of directors of the city of Texarkana, Arkansas, and the mayor are directed to execute the replacement bonds and deliver the same to the trustee for authentication as required by the indentures passed and approved this 21st day of November 2022.
So the city attorney's read the resolution. What would be the desire of the board to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
So have a motion and a second to adopt. Is there any other discussion? Could you call the roll, please?
Minor,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes. The resolution passes. Moving right along to item number 4 is to adopt an ordinance authorizing the city manager into a service agreement with the Texarkana Chamber of Commerce for support services to include advertising and development of a mobile tour application. City manager.
Mayor, board members, item 4 and 5 are in relationship to a item that we passed during the budget process this year, this time last year, actually. So it's been on my work list, you can tell, for a little while. I apologize for it not getting up before now. Again, working with both the Chamber and with Main Street, working through items that would enhance their operation as well as represent us in the community as well, doing some things that the city would not normally do, or we have not done in the past. Again, when we begin to step out and help our service organizations who are there for us every day, they're doing a lot for us, and this is only a small portion of what they may accomplish for us in any given year. Again, the chamber services are identified as more advertising and promotion stuff, and then Main Streets are more along operating, programming, and downtown improvements. So I'm standing available for any comments or questions you may have.
Does anybody have any questions for the city manager? Yes, sir.
Is this, did the A&P just do something similar to this?
Does A&P not in relationship to what we have in these agreements? both of those.
Chamber does get a contribution from A&P for some.
Yes.
Both of those organizations
So
do
does Main
submit
Street.
grant requests to the chamber, to the A&P Commission as well, and they've both been awarded this year as well, money from the A&P Commission.
I'm
This is-
just trying to see if this a duplicate service, that's what I'm trying to see.
Yeah, this will be in addition to any A&P fund, and this will be coming from the general fund of the city.
Jay, I have a question. What is mobile tour?
Thank you.
Mobile,
Yeah, the mobile tour application. What is the mobile tour, or what does that consist of?
I believe that's where they would design a mobile tour for somebody coming into the city. They'd be able to go to their website, take the list of that tour, and it'd tell you how to go from place to place to place, historically and attractions-wise in the community as well. So that's what the mobile tour actually consists of.
Is this similar to the CD that the chamber used to have, where you could
Right,
put it in and have the driving tour?
and they have done that same type of,
Does this have it, does the sales group, the one that we pay money to,
That's the A&P commission.
advertising? It's not,
This don't have anything to do
not in connection with
Anything to do with
sales.
that?
That's through the A&P Commission. Yes, ma'am. This is the chamber's promotion of programs themselves.
Is there anybody from the chamber here representing the chamber?
I don't see anybody tonight.
Any other discussion?
Well, I mean, I hate to vote something up or down on something like that, but I mean, I think we need to consider that in the budget process. I mean, we're fixing to start working on the budget anyway.
Well, I think we did. It was in last year's budget when we approved it, though, right there.
Yes.
Correct, and I mean, I just think, I mean, I would be for tabling this and addressing it during our budget time
But they say it's already been made from,
from the last year, but this is gonna be additional money.
is it?
Uh-huh.
It's additional to what we've already approved?
No,
previously?
it's not.
It's the
No.
same.
Yes,
No,
it's
it
the
was
same,
approved.
what we already voted.
So this is the money that we have already budgeted in,
2022.
220.
There's,
Yes, sir.
there's always a big difference in what's anticipated, budgeted, and what you actually have.
Right.
So it was budgeted, and as long as the funds are there and the finance department says the funds are there, he can expense it.
Hi, Rhonda, the funds there?
Yes, sir. So what
Okay.
this is, these two agenda items, item number 4 and item number 5,
Right.
both of these items were approved during the 2022 budget process, and all these are contracts that are actually in place so we can do the service. Because the Chamber of Commerce and Main Street, we cannot be a general subsidy to either one of those organizations. So we actually have to have an actual contract for specific services with both of those. And that's what these two contracts will be, is they're both for the $25,000. It just goes into detail of how they will use that money that was allocated to them.
Any other discussion? If not, what would be the desire of the board to have the ordinance read on its first reading tonight?
Motion to be read and read the edit form.
second.
Have a motion and a second to have it read on its first reading. Any other discussion?
I got,
Yes.
is there a reason why it's not a resolution versus ordinance?
Well, this is a service for the city, and it was not competitively bid.
Oh,
It's-
okay.
and so it's waiving competitive bidding.
Okay, okay.
Any other discussion? Could you call the roll, please?
Matter,
This is first reading.
You didn't read it yet.
Huh?
He didn't
Well, this is,
read it?
this is the vote to have it read in its abbreviated form, the first reading.
Is that an
Yes.
abbreviated fashion?
yes. Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
An ordinance waiving competitive bidding, authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Main Street, Texarkana to provide services that relate to produce and promote the 2022 2022 holiday parade, provide Broad Street holiday lighting, and maintain downtown landscape planters for declaring an emergency and for other purposes. Although I might have done those out of order.
Yes, you did.
An ordinance waiving competitive bidding authorizes the city manager to enter into a contract with the Texarkana Chamber of Commerce Incorporated to provide and procure advertising and website development services for declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its first reading. What would be the desire of the board to have it read on its second reading tonight?
Second reading, abbreviated form, please.
Is there a second?
Second.
So there's a motion and a second to have it read on its second reading tonight. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Minor,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
An ordinance waiving competitive bidding authorizing the city manager to enter into contract with the Texarkana Chamber of Commerce Incorporated to provide and procure advertising and website development services for declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its second reading. What would be the desire of the board to have it read on its third and final reading tonight?
Third and final reading, abbreviated form, please.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to have it read its third time. Is there any other discussion? Would you call the roll, please?
Minor,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
An ordinance waiving competitive bidding authorizing the city manager to enter into contract with the Texarkana Chamber of Commerce Incorporated to provide provide and procure advertising and website development services for declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its third and final reading. What would be the desire of the board to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to adopt. Prior to the board voting to adopt, is there anyone here that wishes to speak for or against this particular ordinance? Seeing and hearing none, could you call a roll, please?
Minor,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes. They've also requested an emergency clause. What would be the desire of the board to attach an emergency clause?
Motion to attach.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second to attach emergency clause. Is there any other discussion? Could you call the roll, please?
Minor,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes, an emergency clause is attached. Moving right along to our last item tonight is item number 5, which is to adopt an ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into a service agreement with Main Street Texarkana for support services to include the 2022 Christmas Parade, Broad Street lighting upgrades and landscape enhancements. Jay?
Mr. Mayor, board members, again, this is in the same light as our other budgeted amount that we budgeted in this year's budget. Again, I apologize for making these come to us late in the year, but again, this is a joint venture of community interest jointly with us and the downtown group, joining together to do some things that are very important to our community.
Anybody have any additional questions? If not, I would entertain a motion to have the ordinance read on its first reading.
Motion read in first reading.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to have the ordinance read on its first reading in abbreviated form. Is that correct?
Correct.
An abbreviated form. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll, please?
Minor,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
An ordinance waiving competitive bidding and authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Main Street Texarkana to provide services related to production and promotion of the 2022 holiday parade, provide Broad Street holiday lighting, and maintain downtown landscape planters for declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its first reading. What would be the desire of the board to have it read on its second reading?
Second reading, abbreviated form.
Second.
So a motion and a second to have the ordinance read on its second reading. Is there any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Minor,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
An ordinance waiving competitive bidding, authorizing the city manager to enter into contract with Main Street Texarkana to provide services to produce and promote the 2022 holiday parade, provide Broad Street holiday lighting, and maintain downtown's landscape planners for declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its second reading. What would be the desire of the board to have it read on its third and final reading tonight?
Motion third, final, and rereading.
Second.
So have a motion and a second to have it read on its third and final reading tonight. Is there any other discussion? Could you call a roll?
Minor,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
An ordinance waiving competitive bidding, authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Main Street Texarkana to provide services to produce and promote the 2022 holiday parade, provide Broad Street holiday lighting, and maintain downtown landscape planners for declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
So ordinance has been read on its third and final reading. What would be the desire of the board to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
So have a motion and a second to adopt. Prior to the board voting to adopt, is there anyone here that wishes to speak for or against this particular ordinance? Seeing and hearing none, could you call the roll, please?
Minor,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes. And the ordinance passes. An emergency clause has been, yes, sir.
I was just say, I believe you had somebody out there from mainstream, but stream, I don't think it was necessary.
They said they leave them well enough alone.
Yeah.
As long as it passed.
That right, Adam?
The city manager has also requested an emergency clause. What would be the desire of the board to attach an emergency clause?
Motion to attach.
Second.
So a motion and a second to attach. Is there any other discussion? Could you call the roll, please?
Minor,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes, an emergency clause is attached. We'll enter into our board commentary now. Is there any board member that wishes to address the board during board commentary? Yes, sir.
I guess I'm gonna follow up from what I said at the last board meeting, and, I brought up by SWIPCO, and I had a chance to talk to a guy that was representing from, Longview. And he said basically they gonna be doing that, cutting the limb next to the power line, maybe up until the end of January of next year. Then also, they gonna start cutting, if you had trees that was in air close to the line, they may come down. So he said they gonna be around throughout the entire city until January of next year. But I was looking at the minutes too, and I also drove around, and the area that I brought up about that was not cut, they still not cut now, and I was just trying to find out what's going on with cutting the grass near the creeks and the right-of-way. I drove, like I said, I drove around today, and I drove around yesterday, and they still still in the same place, you know, where over there on Ferguson Street, near Bramall Park, over there in Carmichael Hill, and over there on Victor Street. I was trying to find out what's going on with that issue of cutting grass. I shouldn't be talking about cutting grass in November. You know, that issue should have been resolved back in June or July of last year. So what's going on with that? I see that the Public Works guy is out there. I know I can't have him to come up here, but I guess I can make my comments to the city manager as to what's going on with that, and why should I be talking about areas need to be cut during this time of month.
Dr. Harris, we've been behind, you understand that, I think, in relationship to our resources in the Public Works Department. Our number of employees have been down since early springtime. We are slowly building them back up. I think we've made some inroads on a number of our crews, but again, whether mowing and trimming is probably down toward the bottom of the list for us. So we're doing our best to hit the critical areas we have to hit. And then we're going back to our primary functions, which is asphalt patching, doing some crack sealing, and other street and curb work, actually. So those things are a higher priority than mowing and trimming at this point in time.
So now you got to tell the person who been calling me and asking me, just tell them that the city, well, I just tell them, look at this on Facebook, but tell them that cutting grass around the area with them not experiencing snakes and weeds around close to their house and this and that, that's not a priority. I guess that you just recently stated. Okay. And you said about need to hire people. So I guess what job is open with Public Works? I know I had looked the other day at that some operator.
We have one or two equipment operators still open and some laborers open as well.
So you're trying to say, well, I guess I can do some recruiting, see can I get some people, put in some application, so maybe that may help then.
We appreciate it if you can help us recruit.
Any other board commentary? If not, we move into our city manager's report.
Mr. Mayor and board members, I want to start this evening. We had a nice gentleman come up and do the pledge for us. I want you to ask him to come back up a minute. And Captain Avery, would you come back up, please? I'd like you to address the board. Doug has spent his career with the city of Texarkana, Arkansas, as a captain in our police department and over the years, as well as the CRC director for the last few years. He is retiring this month from
Who said?
all of our services.
Who said he was?
I think we are moving that up for a
Who's in
vote.
control?
Are we taking a vote on that?
I'm not sure he would want you to take a vote on it, but I'd ask you, Captain, to have some comments to the board.
I have enjoyed my time working for the city of Texarkana. I moved here in December of '88 and started as a cadet at the police department January the 4th of 1989. So I have been walking around the bi-state for almost 34 years. I have appreciated the opportunities that I was given by the police department. I have enjoyed my time, but it's time for me to go home. I have a new grandbaby, and I am babysitting her, and my parents are getting older, and I'm needing to help them. I was not ready to go to CRC when I went to CRC, but that's okay. The Lord knew what He needed to do, and that's where He put me. And the folks that you have in CRC are some of the most dedicated, professional people I have ever had the opportunity to work with. They stay unbelievably behind trying to catch up with just the paperwork aspect. Probably the biggest accomplishment that you all have helped with was the purchase of the Motorola CAD and RMS. You guys will never know the benefit of that program that will go on for 25 or 30 years. As I said when I stood before you last September, the fact that all 3 law enforcement agencies are using one records management system is going to be phenomenal for crime fighting. You all had a hand in approving that, and I appreciate that, and the folks that work up there appreciate that. Mr. Ellington has been a joy to work with. He has been open-minded. Even when I came to him and said, I need $2.5 million. He kind of looked at me and said, you need what? And when I explained to him what I needed, and I explained an idea that I had of how we could do it, and he helped me shepherd that through the process. But I appreciate all of you for serving our city. I appreciate the opportunities that I have had. I wish I wish all the city employees the best of luck in your future. I wish Chief Cram the best of luck. If I can help you, call me. You know how to I know Mayor Brown knows how to get hold of him. He just called me to the bank, says, hey, there's a problem with your account, and I can get up there pretty quick. But if you need anything, call me. I'll be more than happy to help. But I have enjoyed it, but it's time for me to spend some family time. So thank you for the opportunity to serve the citizens of our community. And thank you, Jay, for giving me this opportunity to talk to you all. And I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we do appreciate it.
Jay, I'd like to add something to that.
Sure.
Before you slip out the door on me, I said, it has truly been an honor to work with you at Bi-State, even though we were one floor apart all these years. To know you were right there to answer a question, and especially since I became a board member. I mean, it was easy access, direct answers, always the right answer. And not only are we going to miss you there, I'm glad I've known you at a professional level. Your family is fantastic, but just to be able to call you a friend. And I'm going to miss seeing you at Bi-State. Yes, sir.
Doug, all these people have these nice things to say about you. Every meeting we've had the last 3 years, I must have caught you on the bad day.
I come bearing gifts, that's why.
No, Doug has gone beyond, many people know we've been working on for quite some time now. We've been working on an issue with 911 that'll be resolved hopefully sooner than later, but Doug is very instrumental in, one, educating me on how the process works and how 911 works and what we needed to do, and he's really gotten us where we're at today. And somebody that goes to work every day, at least for the last 4 years that I've been mayor, knowing that he's not fully staffed and never has been fully staffed the whole 4 years that I've been mayor and there. He has a lot of dedication to the city to be able to do that. And I know that that's been a burden on him. And but I appreciate his effort. And like I said, I've known him all the years he's been at the city. I actually went to work for the credit union in '85. So I've known Doug Avery a long time and his family. And I appreciate your effort from the city. You'll be missed for sure.
Yes, definitely.
Definitely. Doug, I just met you over a year ago, and it's been a joy to work with you. Just seeing your selfless service. Going to miss your service. Yeah,
I've
good
known
working
Doug
with
a
you.
long time when he had hair.
Now,
Thank
Ray,
you, Doug. Thank you. I know you know how much I appreciate you.
You may have to eat those words.
The mayor said he will add some money to your account.
Yeah. Jay, anything else on your report?
Mr. Mayor, got a couple other items. Number one, thank the Solid Waste Committee for meeting today and getting us further down the line. We will be bringing some improvements with contract relationships back to you in December. I also have one other of the performance-based contracts like we passed tonight with Ready to come forward, so I'll try to get that one in before the end of the year. And then in the first part of next year, I hope to finish the two operational relationships in the Festival Plaza area, one with Cross Ties and one with 1894. We're still working our way through negotiating those with those operators as well. Our budget workshop, our one budget workshop is scheduled for the 29th. So we look forward to visiting with you there. Our budget is pretty similar to what it was the last couple of years. It's a little limited in its resources this time, so There may not be quite as many items to talk about, but again, we want to get everybody up to speed on what's available and what we're recommending to you. Last item I have for you is I will be out of the area from December 1st through the 10th, and Heather will be in charge during that time frame when I'm out of the area. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Anybody have anything else? Anybody have anything else? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
So a motion and a second to adjourn. Could you call the roll, please?
Minor,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Brewer,